Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Autastic Comedian's Guide to Autism. I'm Kirk Smith. I'm your host. Graham K is on permanent hiatus. He's taking a break. He's got a lot going on. And so he's, did you hear the last episode? You heard he quit? Well, you wouldn't be wrong. But, well, I'm sure we'll have him back and we'll get some updates. And we'll get some updates from the, from old Peter, even if it's third hand. Not old Peter, wonderful Peter. Even if it's third hand, I'll give you an update. I still talk to Graham. We're talking about basketball and the Warriors' resurgence. Are they going to make a playoff run? I remember when this podcast used to be 25% basketball. And there were moms all over the country that did not like that part. We stopped doing it. But it's been a good week. What have I been up to? I got off a ship somewhere and I went to the, oh boy, where was I? I was in the West Coast. I went to San Francisco, see some family and work on some things. And then I was in Kansas City for it was a niece's birthday. I haven't seen those kids in a while. And I have a nephew who's 2 or 3. And he's at that age where the funniest thing in the world is for him is I go, hi Theo. Theo, it's his name. It's a family name for us. Hey Theo. And he goes, hi Poop. And I go, hi. And he goes, I called you Poop. He thinks that's hilarious. And then he calls somebody over. I called him Poop. So that's where he's at. New nickname, Uncle Poop. So, but that was great. We had a nice time. It's freezing in Kansas City. Freezing. And, yeah. Then I was back in L.A. You know, you try things in life and you shoot your shot. Things don't always work. But you give it a shot. And then I'm back in New York City. Trying my, I love New York. It's a little chilly, but I love New York. And it's always good to connect with old friends and do some shows and getting around a little bit. But it's been good. It's been good. And so the format's changing a little bit for the show. Thank you so much if you're still plugging away with us. 10 years. 10 years we've been doing this. Unbelievable. Life is just flying by. But long-time listeners know the format of the show is kind of a week in review, and then we do an in the news, and then but now the topic's going to be a little bit of a week in review from me, and from Graham when I can get him on, and then we'll do in the news, and then we'll have guests. I'm going to have start having guests with I threw this out last week or 2 weeks ago, the last 2 episodes I think, where I'm allowed to have guests. If you have a connection to autism, you're running the program, you've got something going on, you want to talk about, I want to highlight the amazing things going on in our communities and people giving back and with points of view that need to be heard. And yeah, so that's what we're going to start doing. So start with in the news. In the news, we're not very political on this podcast. I'm certainly not very political. I'm not into politics at all. But when it intersects with autism, then I do, it does perk my ears up. So this is on CBS News. I've heard of them. Proposed medical cuts in New York would hurt autism services for children. Healthcare centers say. So this just came out recently. There's a lot going on with people cutting costs, which is an admirable thing. You know, the budget's trillions of dollars. The interest on the budget is more than the costs for the military. So budget cuts are going to happen, I'm sure, at some point. If not this year, at some point. However, I do think it's important to point out that the amount of money put into autism is already very, very small and would have a disproportionate effect on the needy who desperately need care. So let me read the article and then I'll tell you my little 2 cents. Many children with autism rely on medical care to get critical therapy that they need. But next year, New York State wants to cut the spending by millions. Some healthcare centers in New York City, some healthcare centers tell CBS's New York City investigator Masa Saidi, if the cuts go through, they may have to close and leave kids behind. The governor, Kathy Hochul, man, I should know how to say her name, but I don't. Budget cuts April 1st. She's proposing a $30 million cut over 2 years. Lawmakers question the cuts at the hearings in Albany February 11th. How many kids who have, quote unquote, how many kids who have autism who are currently in the juvenile system or in foster care are going to lose their access to this benefit, said Assemblyman Andrew Hevesi. It's still a fair wage, end quote, said the New York State Commissioner James McDonald. This is what most other states have done. I don't know how wage works in there, but that's the word. Quote, forgive me, Commissioner, but the fact that most other states have done it doesn't make it any better, Hevesi said. So they're quoting the back and forth that they had at the state capitol over this. In a statement late Wednesday, Hochul's office said this proposal will not impact a single licensed provider and hopefully encourage unlicensed providers to go through critical training necessary to be qualified. Advocates say the licensed providers design the treatment and the so-called quote-unquote unlicensed ones are the techs who execute the plan. You expect the same level of service that we're going to have from before, said Hevesi. Absolutely, said McDonald. The Bronx Autism Center says proposed cuts will force staff out. Shannon Tenstead fears that her child is about to lose critical therapy. For 3 years, her son Sebastian received treatment at the Applied ABC and Autism Center in the Bronx. He made so many good behavioral changes, he said. He doesn't hit, he doesn't bite, and those are the problems that I was struggling with before he got the services. Now the center's leadership says New York's proposed cuts to Medicare will reduce rates, forcing their staff out. To make a living, therapists like Dorothy King would opt to work with families who have private insurance, not Medicaid. So it creates, I think, a greater void, the less resources for a population that's already kind of picking bones at this point, said Kim, a board-certified behavioral analyst at Applied ABC. Think about the small people, the ones who are single moms who rely on Medicare. Tenstead said, if you cut these services, I'm going to struggle because my son is making good progress. This is an interesting article. Yeah, in my opinion, we're talking about $30 million, which to me is a lot of money. I don't have $30 million. To my family, that's a fortune. But at the state level, for one of the richest states in the nation, is not exorbitant. So I think it's important to raise voices, to not cancel these programs. I understand the need to cut back at some level, but these are your neediest citizens. And I always advocate, if we don't pay for the people that suffer from mental illness and other things to get the treatment they need, eventually they're going to end up on the streets. And these are the people on the subways that, if her son's struggling with biting people, you can't have people biting people, in public transportation and everywhere else. So to me, it's an obvious one. But as always, send in your notes. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. And yeah, let's move on to our special guest. Last week, I threw out the gauntlet to reach out to me if you're curious on being here. One of the first notes I got was from Adam. Adam has a podcast that he runs, or a program that he runs, that there's a podcast connected to it in Winapeg that Graham was on when Graham was in Winapeg, and Graham participated in it. And it's for non-neurodivergent people or for neurodivergent people. And yeah, I thought it was an interesting conversation. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And I'm excited to have turn over this new leaf for hearing from different voices. I think it'll be an interesting little turn. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging in there. As I kind of tipped my hand beforehand, I've got a special guest this week, Adam Schwartz, who is he is in Winapeg, and he had Graham on a podcast some time ago, and he reached out to me, and I thought he'd be a great guest. Thank you so much for coming, Adam. Welcome to the podcast. Yes, of course. Tell us a little about you, your connection to autism, and what you got going on these days.
I'm an autistic comedian. So I tell people that I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old, but truthfully, there were probably signs before that. Like this fact, I avoid making eye contact as if I still owe everyone birthday presents the last 12 years, or the fact that the texture of toast makes me want to gag.
Okay.
I don't know if you have comics who often just do material, and I'm hard to get out of the habit.
You've got a joke. Lay it on us, Adam. What do you got? This is by the way, this is a family friendly podcast.
Yeah, most of my material is family friendly. I do a lot
Okay.
of corporate comedy.
Okay, got it. I was just making sure. Go ahead. Lay us
No,
on. We love good jokes.
that was just uh about how I got when I was 12, my mom got called me in the kitchen and said, "Adam, I've got some bad news." And I said, "What of Pop-Tarts?" And she said, "No,
I like
honey,
it.
you've got Autism." And so after thinking, I was like, "Thank God, does that mean we still have Pop-Tarts?"
Solid joke. I like it.
But there were probably signs that I was diagnosed before that, like the fact that when I went to see a psychiatrist, he took one look at me and was like, "That one's easy, clearly autistic. High five! I'm going for an early lunch."
So that's great. Now tell us a little bit about what you're doing. You're involved in a community. Tell us about this community. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, so as I've got the I'm pretty autistic in that I have a hard time making friends. And so stand-up comedy gave me a bit of a community, but I still felt like a bit of an outsider. So I decided to start my own group with other neurodivergent comics. But since then, we've opened it up to other neurodivergent performers. So we've had just put on a neurodivergent musical comedy show.
That's great.
Uh, mhm. And yeah, we also just put on some burlesque classes for neurodivergent people with neurodivergent students taught by neurodivergent artists, as well as a visual arts class.
Tell us a little bit about the neurodivergent comedy show. Where was that at? And you guys, is it going to be a repeating thing? Is it an annual thing? Tell us about that.
Uh, well, our we put on a lot of different comedy shows. We had a musical comedy show, and we put on shows throughout the year, uh, which is a lot of fun. And we've also started touring outside of Winnipeg, which is great. And I'm hoping that uh, one of the questions was, what do uh, kind of inspiration do I hope other neurodivergent people come away with?
Yeah.
Is I hope that they realize that the arts is in fact a place for them. Uh, there's
Ooh, I
so
like
many
that a lot. I like that a lot.
there's so many incredible neurodivergent artists, but the problem is that a lot of uh, in order to get stage time, a lot of people who are on the spectrum tend to mask, uh, which I'm sure your audience already knows means
Mhm.
hiding their autism.
But it's okay. Spell it out for how does masking how do you see it and how does it affect the people that you see around you?
Yeah, so there's many incredible neurodivergent artists, but I would even argue that most of the best artists in the world are neurodivergent because we're able to hyper focus to such a large degree that you need to in order to be able to make a living in the arts. But a lot of neurodivergent people are forced to mask, meaning hide their uh, neurodivergent qualities in order to get stage time. Uh, and so a lot of people times growing up, people aren't even aware of all the amazing neurodivergent artists uh, because they're masking. Uh, and so uh, what my group does,
Let me ask you this. Do you think that masking helps or hurts them long term? Like, I get why people do it because you want to fit in, but do you think that affects the art they would be willing to put out? If do you think it affects their actual true self, if that makes sense?
yeah, and that's a complicated question because in order to get stage time for a large part, you have to mask. But on the
Yep.
other hand, if you're not being your authentic self, you're not creating authentic art, which is not uh, true to yourself, which will never be your best art.
That's the rub, right? Yeah, and the uniqueness is going to be something that's hard for other people to emulate.
And so, like, I just met an amazing burlesque dancer slash actress who won a Cannes Film Award in acting, uh, but no one would know that she's neurodivergent because she's been able to uh hide that part of herself so well. And there's so many incredible neurodivergent artists. So what Neurohilarity job isn't to find neurodivergent artists or even to get in space because they're already getting a lot of space. I mean, I thought when I was creating Neurohilarity, I thought I was creating it to create room for other people who couldn't get stage time like myself. But the truth is that there's already a lot of amazing neurodivergent artists. One thing that Neurohilarity does is that we invite people to stop masking and show their neurodivergence and talk about being neurodivergent, which is unique in that there are very few other shows that do that.
That's great. Now, you have I know you just had this event. Are you planning it again? Are you gonna have it like an annual thing, or is it like a recurring thing, or what were you thinking?
So right now that was our last show of our season, so to speak. But
Hmm.
we're just putting on have upcoming shows, and then we were playing a neurodivergent Pride variety show, and we're also putting on Indigenous neurodivergent comedy show with a lot of amazing local acts.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Where can people find the details for that event that's coming up? If they're local to Winnipeg, do you have a website, or can they find your fan page, or where is it?
Yeah, so people not just local to Winnipeg, but everywhere in fellow art sh our uh, No Hilarity page because we're hoping to have shows elsewhere. The goal is to one day have just a bunch of neurodivergent comedy shows happening everywhere that are independent and creating more opportunities for neurodivergent artists. Uh, that would be a goal. Inspiration is that other people outside myself would just start putting them on. But yeah, you can follow us at our website, neurohilarity.ca. You can also follow us on Instagram at neurohilarity as well as Facebook.
That's awesome. And Adam, your own fan page, you do a little Instagram or anything?
Yeah, I've got well, I'm just in the middle of creating separating my own fan page from my Inst neurohilarity page so that I've got two pages. But right now, the best way to follow me is neurohilarity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, it's great to have you. You have anything you want to say to? We've got a lot of thousands of people listening that are often families of people with autism. There's a lot of caregivers and family members who have loved ones with autism. And do you have anything you'd like to just off the top of your head you'd like to say to these people, or you wish that they would know? I know, for example, my son is nonverbal,
Hmm.
and he's younger than you, but he's 26. He's a man, so but he's nonverbal. So I'm always interested in what verbal people with autism have to say. Just things you wish we would know, or yeah, things that
Uh,
we could do that would help.
yeah. So
In
if I was
general.
gonna have a message to the autistic families, so often I've had people grandparents worried about their children and worried that they won't be able to accomplish things uh, because they don't see other pe representation of people who are accomplishing it. But the fact is that we're a lot more incredible than and capable, just as capable as everyone else, and that the only reason why I don't know about it is because right now there's a lot big need for masking. But uh, that doesn't mean that you should be any more worried about your uh, grandchild or child. They may have additional challenges, like challenges making friends, but they can still live an incredible life.
Now, we've talked about masking twice, so I was kind of wrapping up, but I want to touch on this once more. So masking, you've explained it. So how do you, on this side, meaning like as a parent with a loved one with autism, how do you encourage like, I'm not your dad, obviously, but if I was and you were young at the time, you were 12 or 15, how would somebody like me encourage you to not mask, if that makes sense?
And I don't know if you can or if that's the right thing because of the fact that masking is often necessary in order to get by in our
Right.
society.
Of
Uh,
course.
and it's not easy to say that you should encourage your children not to mask, but you should be able to, as a parent, you should have confidence that your kid will be all right and that uh, if you're doing your job, and I'm sure you're doing your job, is you sound like an incredible dad.
I'm trying. I'm not very
Uh,
good at it, but I'm trying my best.
that things will work out because yeah, uh, people with autism will constantly surprise you with how capable we are, and that yeah, we're gonna have challenges. We may even have more challenges than everyone else, but in the end, all you can do is love.
I like that. I mean, if your final word is love is the answer, I'm down, man. That resonates with me deeply. Well, Adam, it's an honor to have you on. I appreciate it, guys. You heard here first where you can find all his fan pages. He's got a page for the group that he's leading, uh, and the Narrow Hilarity, and his soon-to-come fan page. Adam, add Adam, and honor to have you. And we'd love to have you come back in 6 months when you do your next event or whatever it is, and give us an update. Thank you so much
Thank
for being here,
you.
Adam.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great week. Bye. Well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting. The masking thing is something I hadn't considered. When I asked him, how should we be getting rid of the masks, and he, said, well, there's no real way to do that. It's about understanding and love, basically, and patience and compassion. It really moved me. I thought, that's the answer for everything, in my opinion, is love and compassion and being patient and trying to be understanding of people from different points of view. So, if you want to be on the pod, reach out to me. We hope to have Jill Escher, a longtime roving reporter, on. She's got some new things in the hopper. We'll have her on. We've got people from different walks of life connected to autism that have some input. And yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm at kirksmithcomedy@gmail. You can reach out to me at Kirk Smith Comedy on my Insta, on my YouTube, on my, what else do I got? TikTok, all of it. Reach out to me if you'd like to be a guest. As always, thank you so much for your listening. Subscribe if you can, rate and review, that helps us. We've got a little Patreon going still that helps pay for the hosting and some of this equipment. That's it, guys. Have a great week. You can do it.